Hey everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is Ravage, Dungeons of Plunder. This is a game that has several different ways you can play it. You can play it solo, and it is a very good solo game. There is a player versus player version, in which case the players each are going to have a orc. Yes, you are playing an orc in this game. I'll talk about that in just a second here. That is trying to kill the other orc, and you can either kill them using your own powers, or you can actually recruit the monsters within the dungeon to go ahead and attack the other players for you. And then there is the way that I play it the most. I play this with my daughter a lot. I play with my group. That is a cooperative experience, where each person is going to take one of these orcs from the different castes within the orc society, like berserkers, shaman, cultists, that sort of thing. And they're going to work together in trying to complete a quest. And there's a quest book that's within the rules that gives you the parameters which you have to succeed at. If you don't succeed at the quest without, like, if too many of the orcs die, now when they die they get resurrected, but you only have so many resurrections available. You can't really be eliminated. It's a everyone wins or everyone loses type of cooperative experience. Like, if that happens, then you lose. But if you can complete the quest, then there's like there's a story to it. Like, and then you go on to the next quest and the next quest and so on and so forth. So let me show you how the game is played and how you go ahead throughout the whole process. There's lots of things about this that I really liked and I had a lot of fun with. So I'll show you that, and we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, cool. Alright, so here is Ravage. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to play the game. Now, I have set the game to play the co-op mode. Now, there is a treachery mode where basically it's everybody against each other and you're trying to knock each other off, and then you win by basically winning PvP. And there is a solo mode as well, which is a lot like the co-op mode, but the big difference between co-op and solo is that the co-op mode, you actually have quests. Now, in the rule book, here, like you have in the back, you actually have several different quests that you can do. And so, like, it starts off with, like, Bolga's Dagger, and then the Serpent's Pit, and so on and so forth. Ooh, the Head of Zrbog, and Let It Burn. But regardless, it kind of, like, follows a story and an immersion, if you will. Bolga's Dagger just basically tells you that you have to find Bolga's Dagger, which is going to be in a treasure chest somewhere in there. And then you're going to, if you find the Unearthed Room card, that's going to be placed into the Delve area there. And the Delve deck is the cards that you pick up and you turn over and you make your dungeon with that. And then after you find the Delve deck, then the boss, whichever is for that particular quest, in this case it says that the Dark Elf Archer will be the boss. And so then you're going to have that. And so, I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of set up the premise and what you're going to be doing. Now, in the solo play, you just have to survive a certain amount of time, and then the boss will show up, and the boss is random, and then you got to see if you can actually defeat the boss. But in this case, we have a set objective. We need to kill the Dark Elf Archer, and we need to get Bolga's Dagger. Alright, so the way this works is that you just determine the first player. The rules say whoever the first player is the oldest person. You don't have to do that, obviously. You can roll dice or however you want to figure it out. There are 4 different characters. I've just placed the Orc Berserker down there. But there's also a shaman, an Orc Shaman, the Orc Headhunter, and the Orc Cultist. And each of these have their own different deck of abilities that they have. And those ability cards are actually placed right here. Now, each one of these cards basically gives you a power, or it's a weapon, something that you can do. And then your goal, well, I mean, one of the goals, you want to better yourself, right? And so one of the things you're going to be doing is you're going to, if you level up, like take this Berserker Axe, and I'm just letting you know, this little 3 up here means you have to spend 3 energy to be able to use the ability. This tells you that if you use it in combat, you get to add 2 purple dice to your roll. And then, and it's just a melee weapon. But if you can flip it over, so if you level up, you get to level one of your cards, flip it over. It remains the same, but this one says attack 2 adjacent monsters with the damage of a single attack roll. So it just basically, it becomes a better axe, if you will. And so you start off with these 5 abilities, and each of the other players are going to have 5 abilities as well. And I should, if I can pick this up without dropping everything everywhere, you see these stats over here, that's your basic combat. So you're always going to roll 2 blue dice for your melee, and then like if you use this axe, you'd add 2 purple dice to it. And then this is the defense. You're going to roll 1 blue die and 1 purple die for defense. And then, so that's what you have. Now this is your health track. If you run out of health, you die and you have to resurrect. This is your energy. As you expend energy, that energy gets transferred into experience. When you get up to the top level of experience, that's when you can level up a card. And this over here is your teeth marker. Teeth is kind of like the resource, the gold of the game, and that allows you to purchase items from the Sneaky Goblin, which is this cool little deck of cards. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So the turn process is very straightforward. It's slightly different in the treachery process, and I should actually show you. I'll actually flip this over. If this is for like the co-op or the solo, on the back side of this is the treachery side, and I'll talk about that a little bit as far as in my final thoughts or whatever. Mostly I played this game co-op and solo. So the first thing you're going to do on your turn is you're going to delve deeper. Now, if your character is within 2 cards, and these are cards that are going to consist of the dungeon, is within 2 cards of a open spot, like something where you could place another card down, you will place one. So you just you take the top card, you turn it over. Like here you have a little hallway, and now you're going to place it. Now you have to place it at the closest possible distance to yourself on the board. I'm going to move these character standees just so you can kind of see that. That right there, that's the resurrection circle. You could find more later on. If your character dies and you still have a resurrection token left, you only have a certain number of these, and all the players use them. So if you run out of those, you lose the game. That's how you lose. But so I could place it here, I could place it here, and I could place it here. So I have several different options available to me. So, and you'll notice that, like, and I could, obviously, I could place it like this, because, like, you'll notice that, there's the arrows, or whatever, that connect, and you have to connect those arrows to something. So, if I wanted to, I could go, like that. I'm just going to show you something really quick. So, let's, go ahead and, like, we're going to take another card here. I'm just kind of building it out. Now, for example, if you had a standee, and let's say there was more cards here. If you couldn't like count, like, so like from here you have 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, and so forth. Like, so you can't go back from the start. Like, you wouldn't draw one of these cards to create the dungeon bigger. Now, that is very rarely going to happen. I mean, it always seems like you're close enough to a location, you're going to build it out. So just almost always you're going to be increasing the size of the dungeon. So then after you've placed one down, just so you can actually see, even though all these guys would be on the board, I'm just going to have it like this just for a second. You have what's called the second thing, which is something in the dark. So you've opened up this spot, and when you do something in the dark, you have to draw one of these Explorer cards. Now, Explorer cards have a lot of different things in them, but mostly they're monsters and some other traps, things like that. So here we have a Skeleton Warrior. Alright, so now here's the cool thing. This Skeleton Warrior now becomes basically mine. It's my job to take care of this. Now, if another player happens to attack the Skeleton Warrior, he'll get aggro. This Skeleton Warrior will then want to take that person out, and then I will hand that card to them. But in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a chain of cards that are going to be my monsters that are after me. And so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take the standee that is for the Skeleton Warrior, and I'm going to place it over here. Now, I must make sure I take the right standee. So here you have, right here, it has these little 4 little dots there. So I have to go ahead and find the one that has the 4 dots on it as well. That's so we can make sure and tell the difference. Also, it is kind of a corresponding what kind of level and how difficult that is. So now I have to place this creature somewhere in this card that I placed it. And so I'm going to go ahead and just for sake, I'm just going to put that there. So this is kind of an interesting moment that it'll be kind of neat that'll happen. I'm going to kind of make a scenario here that you'll see. So looking at this card, I'm just going to kind of explain what you see here. You can see that this is its attack. It's going to use a blue and a purple. It has a defense of 2 blue. And it like has a critical hit of Furor. Roll the trap dice. If successful, the hero's defense is reduced by 1. And that is when their attack is rolled. If you roll a blue, like the 2 swords, and a purple 2 swords, that will go in. There's also critical defenses you have and stuff like that as well. That'll be listed here. So here we have, it has 3 health, so I have to do 3 points of damage to take it out. And if I destroy it, it's worth 2 teeth, if you will. So anyway, after you reveal that, now I get to take 2 actions. Now the 2 actions you can do these in any order you want. You can move, you can attack, you can search for plunder, but you only search for plunder once. You can take a token if you are in a room, and I'll show you a room that has like a healing fountain or something. I'll show you one of those in here in a little bit. But that will allow you to take a token as your action. Finally, you can take the action which is called a surge, which allows you to take a point of damage and then gather 2 energy. And sometimes you'll have to do that just because you haven't gained any energy and you need to do so. So, alright, so pretty simply, like if we wanted to move and attack, we'd move. And every character can move 4 spaces. Unless you have something else telling you differently. But in this case, we're 3 spaces away. We can move up to the skeleton, and then we can attack the skeleton. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to look, and I kind of gave myself 3 energy here, so I'm going to spend all 3 energy to power my Berserker Axe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 of these blue, and I'm going to take 2 of these purple, and I'm going to roll these. And let's see what we get here. And let's see. Well, I got... Okay, I did get 2 of these results, which are energy results. Energy results means that I gain energy when I do that. So I'm going to gain back 2 energy after I take that action. And I've got 1 sword and 2 swords, so I got 3 successful hits. Now, I roll the defense of the Skeletal Warrior, which is these 2 blue dice. We're going to see if he defends. And so in this case, he defends twice. He got a result of 2. And he got an energy result. Energy result doesn't do anything, but he defended 2 to my 3 hits, meaning that he takes 1 point of damage. So to denote that, we're just going to go ahead and place one of those markers on there, like so, to show that he's taken 1 point of damage. Now, it is very possible that if I had gotten both of those results, I would have killed the Skeleton Warrior automatically because of the fact that he wouldn't have successfully defended against my attack. But here we'll just go ahead and do this. So now, after that one is done, now it's called the watch out phase. This is where monsters will attack you. Now there's something, before I just roll the attacks here so you can see that happen, you are going to have, as the game progresses, unless you're really good at defeating monsters, you're going to get a lot of monsters that are going to be in a chain, right? And you just keep adding them. I don't have a lot of space, so I can't show you, but you just keep adding the cards to the right. And then when you have the watch out phase, basically the monsters are going to either attack you if they can. If they have a range attack and they're within range of you and they have line of sight, they'll attack you with range. If they are in melee, if they aren't close to you, they're going to move then up to you, and they won't be able to go ahead and attack you. But you can't. You start with the newest monster first, and then you move to the oldest monster to do it. Now, here's something interesting that will happen. So, let's say in this situation, and I'm just just so I can give you a little more, I'm going to add a room. Let's say we had a situation like this where my guy was right there, right? And so there was where's my other hero? So let's say we're playing co-op, and so this monster wants to move up to attack me. He can move through, you just can't end up in the same spot. So as he moves through that person's spot, he gets to take an attack of opportunity on that particular character, and and basically get to attack them as he goes by. Now the same thing occurs if I decide to go around or go through a spot with a monster, because of the fact they will get an attack of opportunity on me as well. So that's where the tactics of putting yourself in the right position, making sure that hopefully you're not giving the monsters free attacks to other people. Now once again, just as I said, it is possible for people to take the monsters away. So if this character here decided to attack this skeleton warrior on their turn, he would take the skeleton warrior and he put it over in his chain, and then so that would be his monster that he'd have to fight. All right, so. But all that said and done, that is not the case of what's going on. It is now the skeleton's turn. He gets to attack. The skeleton gets to roll a blue and a purple. So we're going to roll those two. And hopefully we don't roll the two X's so we don't get the extra damage for the critical hit. And I got the one. So I got 2 successes. And now I get to roll the same 2 dice here to try to defend against it. Let's see if I get. And I got 2 successes. So nothing happens. The skeleton attacks me, but I'm able to successfully defend against the attack, and so no damage is done. Finally, the last thing you do is gathering strength. So when you do gathering strength, if you have enough experience, you can then spend the experience down to 0. And I should mention that, like, if you were like right here, like 1 step away from leveling up, and you use like 3 energy in your turn, you don't get to save that up. The extra is wasted. But so you spend that, you can turn a card over to power something up. You also, if you've collected teeth and you want to spend those, you get to draw 3 of these sneaky goblin cards. And I should mention that you start with a sneaky goblin card to start the game. But you get to draw 3 of these, and you can decide if you want to purchase any of these items. So like, here's a dragon's eye. You consume it to claim 3 energy tokens. A potion of cure poison. Poison stinks. If you get attacked by a monster that has poison, you place this token on your sheet. The shaman, a character, can cure that. That's on somebody else or themselves. But you'll take a point of damage every turn until you either die, and when you die, the poison goes away. You're resurrected, or you just keep going. You have to get a potion to do that. A potion of health obviously would heal, and so forth like that. Now you'll notice down here, it tells you how many teeth it takes to purchase those items. And then you can go ahead and purchase items from the sneaky goblin, if you so desire. Alright, so the one action they didn't really show you is the plunder action. Plunder action is pretty simple. What you're going to be doing on your turn is you're just going to be plundering. And there are all these tokens that have these little treasure chests on them. And so you'll have these in a pile. You can put them in a draw bag, however you're going to do that. And then if you decide to plunder, you can only do that once per turn. You just take one and flip it over and see what you get. So in this case, you get a healing potion. It's just a one-shot little healing potion, something good. You could, I'm trying to find it now, but you can get like a loot card, which allows you to just draw a card from the Sneaky Goblin deck. And there's bad stuff as well. I just want to make sure you point that out. You can get a Cure Poison, but you can also find a trap, in which case you just take a point of damage. So it is a risk-reward type of thing if you want to do plunder, but sometimes you just have to do it because of whatever reason. All right, so eventually in this scenario, what happens is that eventually you are going to find the card. You notice these cards have the Delve card on the other side, and so in this case you are trying to find the Unearthed card. And when you find the Unearthed card in there, you will have these. Let me find the Unearthed cards here. So there's an extra deck, and so you take these 3 Unearthed cards, like so, and you'll use these to build the Unearthed room on the board. And then you're going to be placing the boss monster in there, in which case the boss monster is the Dark Elf Archer, and the Dark Elf Archer has their own like deck of power cards that give them different things. So they're bigger and tougher than somebody else. They have this like multi-attack. They can attack 2 within range, attack when play, the move 1 card away. Poison, so you can poison somebody, and then attack the furthest tier away within range 6, and then roll the attack dice +1. So they have, like, just to add they're not just, another monster. So it's kind of nice that you have, like, these special attacks and abilities that the bosses will have. And then, here, let me show you. Like, so, and here are the bosses. Admittedly, like I said, this is, I don't have the art for this one on this card, but, there's the Hell Demon, the Archer, the Warlock, and the Cave Serpent. And so these are, obviously much more difficult, much tougher than your standard monsters. Now, I should just show you one last thing I want to show you. So in this Explorer deck, I wanted to show you, like, the fact that you have traps. And so poison spore. So you roll the trap die. If you roll the trap, you are poisoned. The trap die is this guy right here. And you'll notice that some of these have, like, this little trap symbol. And that basically says that when you roll it, no trap. But if you get the trap symbol, then the trap actually occurs. There are some abilities that characters have that you actually use the trap die. So, like, the Frenzy ability that the Berserker has, attack, and then roll the trap die. If the trap is rolled, you get an additional attack, and then maybe used with the axe. And so you do have, the die isn't just for bad things, if you will. One other thing I wanted to show you in the Explorer deck is there are, like, things that just impede processes too, like entangling roots. Place adjacent to your hero, the roots only move 1 tile per turn towards their target. And so, like, this isn't, like, the most deadly of monster ever, but it, like, is much like it like has these poisonous spores, and this is one of those that I mentioned has, like, a critical defense, and all adjacent heroes roll trap dice to see if they're poisoned, because it's just like these roots that are trying to grab you and infect you with fungus or what have you. So there you go. The game obviously is going to get a lot bigger. You're going to keep, pulling these delve cards over and putting them down, building it out. It has a lot of really, really interesting things going on as far as the tactics of the monsters and what you're trying to, like, put yourself into spots where the monster, like I said, isn't getting that free attack by running by somebody. You also, if you don't kill the monsters quickly, you are going to run the risk of, like, just being overwhelmed by them because of the fact that you have this string of monsters that you've kind of, like, tagged as your own. And I really like the aggro thing about it, because it kind of lends itself, in the cooperative play, it lends itself towards, like, okay, I need to take that, monster away from them, or otherwise they're going to kill them. Because remember, you only get a certain number of these resurrection tokens, and once you've used those all up, then unfortunately you're unable to do it. I also wanted to point out just some of the other room capabilities. So you can find rooms with resurrection circles like that. You can find rooms with these are energy tokens, and you'll like an energy dial, and you'll place energy tokens on there that you'll be able to take and claim as your own. And then there's also these healing fountains, where if you put healing markers on here, and if you're by there, you can claim those as well. So the dungeon just isn't, it isn't just a bunch of, like, boring hallways and what have you. It's kind of like a living, breathing thing with some verisimilitude, if you will, as my friend Craig loves to say about things. And it makes it kind of, tell a story, and it makes you, like, kind of, experience the adventure and increase that immersion, which I think these games, really thrive on when you're going into a dungeon and doing these funky things. But anyway, I really, really like the game. For a few of the reasons I already mentioned. I love the chain of monsters thing. I love the fact that it's orcs, because they could have done anything. They could have gone with any other race, just standard good races, but no, they did something cool. They switched up a little bit. It reminded me of my old World of Warcraft days when I played the Horde, and we aren't exactly a bad people, but the orcs were just heroes, just in and of themselves, and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of stuff I really like, but let me talk about that and all of that in my final thoughts. So, admittedly, there are lots of fantasy games out there, fantasy board games out there. It is a genre that has a lot of games to it. And admittedly, there are a lot of these cooperative dungeon building type of things. Now, and sometimes, like, people think of Descent or things like that, but that's like a one versus many. This is either all against all, with the player versus player, or, you know, it's a solo game, or it's a cooperative game. And a lot of these cooperative games, you know, kind of run the gamut of being lumped together, right? And sometimes, like, you know, they just don't seem to bring anything new to the table. And so I'm always, you know, a little bit concerned whenever I get approached with one of these games. But after reading the rules, I was really intrigued by a few things. I really liked the monster AI. I liked the fact that each person had their own monster chain, if you will. It wasn't that, like, the monsters were just like, okay, count how many spaces you are away from the nearest hero and then move to that one and what have you. You didn't do that. It was, you know, those were like your monsters, and so it really added a lot to the tactical nature for it, and it kind of spun that tactic a little bit on its ear. Usually when you play a game, you just get that one tank guy closest to all the monsters, and then everybody else kind of backs up, and just, you know, the archer shoots and the healer goes and the wizard does area control kind of things, you know. And so, but this one, like, kind of spun a little bit because of the fact that those monsters, they're fixated on you, right? And so if you're too close, or they're going to be charging you, like I said, you need to be constantly taking out those monsters, otherwise you're going to get overwhelmed. And so, and if one character is getting overwhelmed, they just don't seem to be able to, you know, take care of their foes, that's when the other players have to step in and start taking out those monsters and claiming them or what have you. But of course, that you run the risk then of, like, taking away the teeth, if you will, and being able to purchase those different items. And like I said, poison, like I mentioned in the gameplay, like things like that, poison is just so debilitating. Like, if you're just taking a point of damage every turn, and the shaman's nowhere nearby, and you can't seem to find one of those you know, neutralized venom potion type of things, you know, there's a lot of things going on as you play that it really ramps up quickly. And I like co-op games that do that. I like co-op games that as I'm playing, like, okay, this seems pretty simple, this seems pretty okay, and as all of a sudden every turn you're getting a monster and another monster and another monster, and then when you search for a plunder, you run into a trap and you take a point of damage, and you're starting to look and you haven't killed a monster in the last 2 turns, and you're staring at the fact that you only got 2 health, and here they come, you know, and you're down to like 1 energy. It's those moments that, like, the game kind of has its signature cinematic situations, if you will. And thematic games like this, for me, have those things. That's why I play games like this. I love that immersion. I love that moment of, like, where you see it happen in your head. I mean, you're looking at the board, admittedly, but in your head, you're running through that movie, right? You're running through the you know, the orcs, you know, their final last stand against the hell demon or what have you, you know. And so you can kind of see that, and those are those, like, signature moments that, like, whether you win or lose, it's still it evokes a response from you, and it evokes, like, an enjoyable action from you. And so games like this really speak to me, and I've always been a fan of these. So technically, I guess, yes, there's a lot of cool new things going on, like the theme, obviously, with the orcs, like, as I mentioned, the way that they're handling, you know, like the aggro and what have you. I really enjoy that. I do like the fact that, like, the dungeon itself just seems to kind of come alive as you go in, and, like I mentioned, that verisimilitude or whatever. I like that aspect of it. It's kind of a living, breathing entity, if you will. Now, if you like games like this, I think this is definitely something you're going to want to check out. If you like, and if you're looking for a really, really good solo game, I'd suggest checking this one out as well. And, you know, and like I said, I've only played the player versus player a couple of times, but when I played that, I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the kind of slimmed down version of the game where it was just kind of brutal, you know, me and my friends butting heads and trying to take each other out, and it was a nice spin against, after we had defeated all the quests. It was like we still wanted to play some more, so okay, let's try to kill each other off instead of the quests, and that kind of added to the replayability as well. So there you go. If you have any questions about this sucker, go ahead and ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.